What if I told you the global economy depends on a 33-kilometer gap in the ocean? Every single day, about 21 million barrels of oil are forced through a strip of water so narrow that tankers have to move in controlled lanes, almost single file. If you stood on the coast of Oman, you could watch nearly 20% of the global economy float past you. But in 2019, after 2 oil tankers were attacked nearby, something strange happened. Not a war, not a blockade. Within 48 hours, the cost to insure a single ship in that region jumped from around $30,000 to over $300,000. Some ships turned around, others refused to enter. Oil didn't disappear, it just stopped moving. And that was enough to shake global markets. Right now, tensions in the Middle East are rising again. Missiles, naval movements, political threats. You've seen the headlines. The real danger isn't the conflict itself, it's the geography. Because that 33-kilometer bottleneck, the Strait of Hormuz, is the single most fragile artery in the global system. And if that flow is disrupted, everything changes. So the real question is, how can a conflict thousands of miles away affect your rent, your groceries, your job? How can a single region send shockwaves through every major economy on Earth? Because this isn't just geopolitics, it's a system built on constant movement, and that system is more fragile than it looks. But that 2019 incident reveals something deeper. The global economy doesn't break when oil disappears, it breaks when oil gets stuck. The modern world runs on energy. Every truck delivering food, every plane crossing continents, every factory producing goods, all of it depends on oil. And a huge portion of that oil comes from the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, Kuwait. But here's the detail that changes everything. Oil isn't useful where it's extracted. It has to move. And most of that movement passes through a single choke point, the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, it's just about 33 kilometers wide, one corridor between Iran and Oman. Yet every single day, around 20% of the world's oil flows through it. That's nearly 1 in every 5 barrels on Earth, squeezed through a corridor narrower than many cities. Now, here's the part most people miss. This isn't theoretical. It has already happened, just in smaller doses. In the 1980s, during the Iran-Iraq War, both sides began targeting oil tankers in what became known as the Tanker War. More than 400 ships were attacked. Oil kept flowing, but at a cost. Shipping rates surged, insurance became extreme, and global oil prices turned volatile almost overnight. Fast forward to 2019, 2 tankers damaged in the Gulf of Oman. No full war, no closure. Yet, within days, war risk insurance premiums spiked up to 10 times higher. Some routes slowed, others paused. Because in this system, you don't need destruction, you just need doubt. Now, here's where it gets dangerous. Most people think a crisis happens if the route is fully blocked, but that's not true. Even a small disruption, even a threat, can trigger massive consequences. If tensions rise, shipping companies hesitate, routes are delayed, costs increase, and supply tightens. Prices react fast, sometimes within hours. But this is only the visible layer, because behind every oil tanker, there's another system at work, invisible, quiet, but powerful. Oil doesn't just move through water, it moves through contracts, risk, and trust. Behind every shipment are insurance companies, shipping firms, financial institutions. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. A large portion of the world's marine insurance is controlled through a marketplace in London, Lloyd's. Not governments, not navies, underwriters, small groups of specialists calculating risk. If they decide a region is too dangerous, they don't need to block the strait. They can price it out of existence. Because when premiums rise high enough, shipping companies simply stop, which means a decision made in a quiet London office can slow down oil flowing through the Middle East. This is power without headlines, and it reveals something deeper. Oil doesn't just depend on geography, it depends on confidence, and confidence can disappear instantly. In fact, just 1% disruption in global oil supply can spike prices by over 10%. Now watch how fast this spreads. Once oil prices rise, everything else begins to move. Fuel becomes more expensive, transportation costs increase, businesses raise prices, inflation rises. Central banks react, interest rates go up, spending slows, economies tighten. But this is just the first domino, because energy sits at the base of almost every system we rely on. Take agriculture. Modern farming depends on fuel and fertilizers made from natural gas. So when energy prices rise, food production becomes more expensive. And when food prices rise, the consequences go far beyond grocery bills. We've seen what this looks like. People lining up for fuel, gas stations running dry, businesses shutting early, flights canceled, food prices rising fast enough to trigger protests. Because when fuel prices surge, it's not just about cost, it's about access. Access to work, to food, to stability. And for millions of people, that line between inconvenience and crisis is very thin. But it doesn't stop there. Manufacturing slows, shipping delays increase, global trade tightens. Not collapsing, but constricting, like a system losing oxygen. And here's the twist. Not every country feels this equally. Some absorb the shock, others crack under it, turning an energy problem into a global imbalance. Now take that tension and push it further, because there's a scenario world leaders quietly prepare for, but hope never happens. What if the Strait of Hormuz is actually blocked? Not threatened, not restricted, closed, even for a few days. At first, it looks like a localized shipping problem, but within hours, oil prices violently spike, sending panic across global stock exchanges as governments scramble to release emergency reserves. And that's just the first wave. Countries heavily dependent on imported energy, India, Japan, parts of Europe, feel it immediately. Energy shortages, rolling blackouts, factories slowing down. And then financial pressure builds. Currencies weaken, debt stress rises, capital starts to move. Because when energy stops, confidence follows. And when confidence breaks, recovery becomes much harder. And there's another problem. There is no real replacement route. Pipelines can only handle a fraction of that volume. Ships would have to reroute around Africa, adding weeks, massive cost, immediate delays. The system doesn't just tighten, it bottlenecks globally. But crises like this don't affect everyone the same way, because while some struggle, others adapt or even gain. The United States can increase exports, Russia redirects oil through alternative buyers, and China moves differently. China saw this risk years ago and built a system that avoids it entirely. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, it invested in overland pipelines from Russia and Central Asia, routes that never touch the ocean, never pass through choke points. So while others depend on a narrow maritime corridor, China is building a parallel system on land. So when disruption hits the sea, China absorbs the shock. Because in a crisis, advantage doesn't go to the strongest, it goes to the most prepared. This is not just a supply crisis, it's a power shift. Because whoever controls or bypasses energy flow influences the global economy. And this is where it becomes unstable. Markets don't wait for events, they react to expectations. If disruption's expected, they behave as if it already happened. Prices rise, volatility increases, confidence drops. And when confidence drops, systems begin to shake. Not at all at once, but under pressure. Now bring this closer. Closer than global markets, closer than geopolitics. Your daily life. Fuel costs creeping up, groceries getting more expensive, flights costing more, jobs becoming uncertain. It feels random, disconnected, but it's not. It's the same system. A disruption in a narrow passage echoing into your everyday life. And that's what makes this different. It's not distant, it's connected. The global economy doesn't run on oil, it runs on timing, on millions of barrels arriving exactly when they're needed at exactly the right place. Disrupt that timing, even slightly, and the effects multiply across prices, across countries, across lives. And when it breaks, it won't feel like geopolitics, it will feel like everyday life getting harder. Because systems like this don't fail gradually, they hold until they don't. To understand the hidden systems shaping our world, stay part of the flow. Subscribe to Factor of Flow.